Yo, what up guys? Welcome back to Bridge 4, where we dive deep into high fantasy shows and books. For show-only watchers, this one will be safe so long as you've seen Season 1 of The Witcher. The Witcher Season 1 was the lesser evil episode, one with our girl Renfri. She will be missed. A couple of weeks ago, we released a video titled, What Really Happened to Renfri? And I got some great feedback from you guys, which I wanted to share, because I made a mistake for sure. The point of that video, which I had scripted the original version of over 6 months ago, what I wanted to do was focus on how Renfri's clairvoyant. So in the books, Renfri seemed to have foreseen her final moment. She foresaw her own death the night she slept with Geralt. Did Renfri understand that vision at the time? That was the point of the video, to open up that debate. However, Geralt held Renfri in the show as she died. And that's a question that book readers have had for a long time, so I got carried away, and the video morphed into a Renfri's final moment video, where I claimed that Renfri was not a monster, because if Geralt held her in the books, that meant that she did not shank him with the dagger that she was hiding beneath her. The problem is, the show is just an adaptation. A very good argument could be made that Geralt did not hold Renfri as she died in the books, for the reasons that Kuba points out here. Ala M was kind enough to add color as to the original text, because keep in mind, the books were written in Polish. Just as in the English translation, the Polish translation is pretty vague. It does not specify whether or not Geralt held her as she died. And that makes a difference, because if Geralt was not holding her as she died, then there's a chance that if he had come over, she would have shanked him with that dagger. Ala M also pointed out that in the Hexer, which is a previously released version of The Witcher, Geralt did not hold Renfri as she died. He just sat beside her, and eventually, he found out that she had that dagger. So take that for what it's worth, but keep in mind, it's also an adaptation. One more comment before we get to the nerdier section of this video. Kyle pointed out how Andrzej Sapkowski, the author, he often leaves things open to interpretation. If you have not read the books yet, and you're just watching the show, just wait. Because Kyle's absolutely correct. There are plenty of plot points, some really big plot points, that are left open to a reader, or in this case, show watcher interpretation, if they do it the same. And I'm pretty sure I've even heard the author say that his choice to do that, his choice to leave it open to interpretation, it's a nod to fairy tales, of which there are different versions in different areas of the world. And even the versions within a given location tend to change over time, word of mouth. More on that another time, but here we go, the point of the video. Kuba's comment was pretty deep. Kuba suggested that Geralt learned his lesson from the Striga, and as a result, he stayed away from Renfri to avoid any last-minute danger. Kuba, if you're out there, I like your style. While we play checkers, you're playing chess. But I'll take your logic and flip it. In Book 1, The Last Wish, the first short story is The Witcher, which is the Striga story. The Renfri story, or the Lesser Evil, it's the third story. So as a reader, we learn about the Striga first, but chronologically, the Striga story happens last. Because remember, the entire book takes place as Geralt's healing at the Temple of Melitele, or Melitele, as Triss in the show says.
Melitele.
So the Striga is last of all the stories in that book, and Geralt's having flashbacks of the other stories, such as Renfri. It's the same in the show.
Renfri.
So Geralt couldn't have learned his lesson from the Striga, and because of that, stayed away from Renfri because Renfri happened first. In fact, Geralt was explicitly thinking about Renfri as he entered the Striga castle that night.
This isn't my first time trying to save a princess who others see as a monster.
So if anything, the emotional impact that Renfri had on Geralt, that led to him letting down his guard a little too early with the second princess out of the Striga. But regardless, the way that you're thinking, Kuba, that's the way that we should all be thinking about this story if we want to appreciate the beautiful, complex, and interconnected writing within the books and the show alike, such as the holding motif that permeates the stories within Book 1. Which is why I still think that Geralt held her in the books.
What happened to that princess? I killed her.